going to take you through my process of writing out chapter 283 and talking about my favorite panel from this chapter, along with coloring it during this video for you. So this is part of the Revive AU in Bribob, where Steven goes into a hospital. He realizes that he can heal sick humans, and he goes kind of off the rails with that and builds a little Earth world alongside little home world. And in this chapter, things are starting to collapse. So he's like been stuck healing people for over a year, and just more and more people keep getting sick, and more people are injured, and it's an endless array of just people. And he's at his wit's end because he feels like he can't stop healing people now that he's started. Like, how do you decide who gets to live and die when you can easily revive anybody at any time with just, a few pieces of your saliva? So in this scene, he's just like broken down, and he's like hiding under a chair in his tent in Little Earth World. And let me see if I can find the panel for you. Basically, he just says, like, I don't want to be stuck doing this for the rest of my life. And then he has a puppet hand where he's talking to himself. He's like, well, that's pretty selfish, Steven. You don't feel like healing anymore? If you stop spitting on people, that's blood on your hands. And, like, you can see, I try to make his mouth do, like, ventriloquism. So it's, like, kind of half open, and I have the speech bubble be the dotted lines to show that he's, like, whispering it to himself. And then this makes him so stressed out that he gets cat hands again, like in season 1 of Steven Universe. But let me see if I can find it really quick. Come on. Unlike in season 1, this is a new variant on the cat hands. So what happens here is I started putting human faces on Steven instead of just like little cats. And that escalates even further because he's in so much mental turmoil over wanting to have his life back, but also feeling like guilty for wanting to have that. And then this panel where Steven's whole body erupts in human faces instead of cat faces. And I just thought that concept was so horrifying because, I didn't know, like, did all of the cat monsters on Steven's body have their own sets of organs and brains and stuff? Because they were obviously meowing, right? Did they have their own lungs and stuff? So I don't know. I was thinking about, like, what would happen if Steven had a breakdown and it was humans instead of cats that appeared. So that's a pretty fun concept for this chapter here. And then I also try to think about it from every angle. So I also thought about, couldn't Steven, Towley here, hilarious side character that works surprisingly well in this AU, where he's just kind of like judging Steven. He's like, couldn't you make spit in bulk and bottle it up? Like, why do you have to personally heal everybody? And Steven's, it's day 200 of Little Earth World, and Steven's just like hunkered over his desk, really like tired. And then I have him have his imagination go wild. And I haven't finished this scene yet, but it's going to be SpongeBob. Instead of the scene from that show where he's like, put the money in the bag, put it in. Instead, it's put the spit in the bag. And Steven's like, no, if I bottled up my spit and everything, it would become a commodity and it would lead to anarchy because of how valuable and life-altering it would be to have, the ability to heal all wounds. And this is my favorite panel because it's a turning point in this AU where he was already going off the deep end a lot, but like, let me see if I can find another panel that I really like. Right before this panel, he's hunkered over underneath this chair, and I just love this pose as well. I also did John Arbuckle, where he also crawled under his cartoonist desk and sat like in the fetal position like this. So this is a a motif I like, I guess, with characters that are going through it. He's taken off his mustache and his gloves and stuff. And then he's just shaking and drooling, and he's just like, I don't know, this panel is really hard to look at in some ways. It's like very harrowing to me. But I think it captures the emotion of like what kind of state you would need to be in, or at least what kind of state Steven needs to be in to start trying to rationalize and reason with himself by talking through puppet hands. Okay, now I should probably actually start drawing this one out. So the color palette for this one, I want it to be a little bit darker because I know it's going to be underneath this chair, and I think that the shadows will make it look more ominous and creepy. So, oh gosh. So one thing, I don't have any proofreaders or like early readers of Bribob. I just wing it every single time when I post. So one thing I'm hoping happens is that the ventriloquism angle gets across to the audience, because yeah, sometimes I think something might make sense, and then once I put it out there and then people comment like, I didn't really get this part, and then I like look back at it and it seems super obvious, like, oh, I should have enunciated this part more, I should have done that. So I try to really overthink it, but I think the dashed dotted speech bubble, along with the odd shape of his mouth, and he's looking up at the hand while talking, I think that'll get across to the audience exactly what I wanted. Also, another thing you might notice is that the reason why his mustache fell off and his hair reverted back. So his hair earlier in this AU started to grow off the side along with the mustache, and that's showing like an evolution of his character. But he's regressing here. He's regressing back to a version of himself before he became this like carnival leader of Little Earth World. And so I wanted his physical state to represent that as well. So the back of this is going to be the tent colors, which I made pink and white stripes. Now it looks way too bright, and that's okay, because I can put down like a cool blue color or something and mute this in a second. Let's see. all my black alcohol markers are always pretty shredded because I use them so much that all the felt tips are usually kind of busted. So they have ink in them, but it's just like a little more tedious. I don't know. Ohuhu is an interesting brand because they specifically have, well, they have a bunch of different types of markers, but they specifically have like 2 different types of tips for their alcohol markers, and one of them is softer and one of them is like firmer and advertised as lasting longer. So this is the one that's a little bit softer. See, like, look. It's interesting. Oh. So I want to add a shadow here so it shows that Steven's slightly lifting his head up off of the ground. So to me that reads as like there's a shadow there. Let's see about this cool blue color back here. So far, to me this piece looks very unsatisfying right now. So this is in the middle. You gotta trust the process a little bit. But the colors are not like appealing yet. But I can fix that. So I always, when it's a tense scene, I always add little shadows on the eyes. For some reason, it just makes it always more uncomfortable and tense. So I always add those shadows during tense scenes. And I can add thicker line weight on the eyes, and it also makes it more uncomfortable. See how that changes it? Yeah. I always do these like little motion lines to show movement. I do 2 things. I do like a little blended, like if I'm thinking about like these 2 fingers wagging back and forth. So then I think about having like a little blur, and then, yeah. So now that I've added this perspective, this seems out of place. So I'm going to add that this chair goes in the background further. And then I'm going to add some shadows onto the pink here. And then I can add some highlights onto Steven's coat a little bit. Okay. So yeah, I usually do that with acrylic paint pens that I want to smudge stuff with. Have a little bit of blending. I would say like my strongest area is with alcohol markers, and then acrylic paint pens are still, they're not like a total enigma to me because I do use them a lot, but they're not like my main tool. I use them only for like highlights or fixing things and doing little addendums. But like I understand how to mix colors with alcohol markers perfectly well, but I still, even after doing like actually 5,000 of these, and that's not a hyperbole, I still get confused when I'm mixing acrylic paint for some reason. It just has never fully clicked in the way that alcohol markers have. So I usually only use it for touch-ups. It's just a different blending process. But I won't discount it. I still think I can learn. Okay. So, looking at this. And honestly, this one's, I'm pretty happy with it now. I'm trying to think about what else I could change with it at this stage. So that's one thing about doing things traditionally, is that once I put down certain colors or certain techniques, it's really hard to undo it if I actually wanted to change this piece a lot. And so I'm looking at the structure, everything I put down, and like, how can I enhance this as much as possible to make it the best I can, to convey all the emotions I want, and look aesthetically pleasing to some extent. Like, I want it to be coherent, clear to read, although I could always work on my handwriting. And I like the awkward angle of his head lifting up off the ground here. I feel like it looks uncomfortable, and like the fervor in his eyes looking at his hand here, I feel like that's captured really well. Oh, I know what I need to do. There's little tassels on his shoulder pads, and I usually don't, like, I worry about little details like that at the very end, because it's easier to just add this in later than to work around the really tiny details with an alcohol marker, because alcohol markers bleed a lot. They'll bleed into everything. So sometimes really tiny details, I will plan ahead and be like, okay, I'm gonna use an acrylic gel pen to add these little tassels in at the very end, because I'm not gonna deal with blending and shading and having to go through these like really tiny areas that are just gonna get bled through. Okay, I think that's everything I talked about. Anything I could that was interesting about this particular panel. And let me know if you have any questions, of course, and I hope this video helped you out. So thanks for watching.